I'm Annie.
I'm Susan.
And this is
Two Friends, One Chat. Ooh, guys, welcome back. Welcome back, like multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
We got I want to say good one.
Oh, we got
it. It is, but this is gonna be one of those more intense ones again.
Yeah.
So like, prepare yourself.
Yes.
If today's not the day, please don't listen.
Yes.
Find it another day.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going back to core wounds.
Yay!
Yeah. Annie's a little hesitant because it's her turn to share her core wounds.
Oh, God.
So if you guys were listeners before, I shared my core wound story in season 1, which I had done a lot of work on in therapy for years, so it was a little easier for me to just like share that story because I had done so much work on it.
Yeah.
Annie's more new to core wounds, but crushing it. Absolutely crushing working on this. So
wait, I want to make a comment. So
okay.
My first thing is go back and listen to Core Wounds from season 1.
Oh, if you haven't. Yes. Okay.
Because you can even hear in that my journey. Because the first time you told me about Core Wounds, I was like, but we should also have core strengths. And like, I didn't sound like that. But that was like my gut instinct, right? Because I think what I really wanted to do was deny that I had core wounds.
Yep.
And basically just pretend because I was a social worker, I was magically over them.
Yeah. So, yes, go back and listen. But just a quick kind of recap of core wounds in general is these tend to be hurts or messages that you have heard growing up that like shape the way you are and think and behave. My quick recap is I was never enough because I wasn't male and I wasn't my brother, right? So I was never going to be good enough. So that has shaped the entire kind of person that I am.
Yeah.
And that's that little message you keep telling yourself. So it's important to do that work. Yes, I think you can have core strengths as well. But we do like to deny core wounds because, like, I don't want to...
Yeah.
Like, those usually are wounds that are buried so deep, like, the idea of opening that back up is a lot. And it is.
Yeah.
But the healing that comes from it is, I can't even tell you. It's huge.
And that's, I think, another thing, I feel like, I can't believe we got through episode 1 without me not saying my favorite brain fact about, like, 80% of our being wants to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important that you do know your strengths, right?
Yes,
that's super important.
Of course.
And fucking be proud of that shit.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you don't take care of your core wound shit, like, that will come out in your relationship with other people.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
It always comes out. And then if it's, like, negative coming out, right, then you're putting that on yourself or other people that like don't deserve that and for what feels like no reason.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what your core wound is.
Yeah.
You might not even know what it is.
Yeah.
For a while, you know.
Oh, I mean, I spent years ignoring mine.
Yeah.
Like, years. Because,
bless your heart.
Bless my goddamn heart. Because, one, it's painful. And I think most people are, like, pain avoidant, right? I think that, especially emotional pain avoidant.
Yeah.
But the other piece is, like, if you admit that, then you're the one responsible to make it better.
Yeah.
No matter what was, like, because a lot of my core wounds come from, like, parental influence.
Yeah.
But the truth is, once you come to grips with those core wounds, like, it's my job to heal them.
Yeah.
And that's both awesome and frightening, frankly.
Yeah. Oh.
Especially if you don't have tools in your toolbox.
It is very frightening.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, that flip side is there is that power in it because, like, I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
I get to decide how this goes.
Oh, man, you guys, in 2 episodes, I mean, we're only talking about my core wounds, but in 2 episodes, I get to talk to you about that side of it.
Yeah.
And it
taking that, like, power back side. Yeah. Annie's been on a journey this summer.
You guys, it's been awesome. And
so proud of her.
It is from doing the work. And then, and I can't stress this enough, I mean, we get to podcast it, so that's really amazing.
Yeah.
but I hope everyone has a human relationship like you and I have.
Right.
Where you can say, Susan flew in last night pretty late. We were outside. It was a gorgeous night. And I was like telling her about this big therapeutic breakthrough. And I just hope people have that because you were excited for me. You were engaged.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. And you're like asking those clarifying questions and tell me more. And like,
yes.
And so I hope that everyone has a person that they can celebrate their therapeutic wins with.
Oh, I do too.
Yes. Like really.
I do too.
Which also goes to social mapping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no, but now this isn't, no.
Okay, we'll get there. What?
I'm avoiding.
A little avoidance?
Yeah, maybe. I'm avoiding.
Maybe avoiding sharing that core wounds story? So, Annie's done a lot of work. I'm very excited to have her share. Mm-hmm. And I haven't even heard, like, all of this, so some of this is going to probably be, or at least the way it's going to be presented might be new for me.
Which is good.
So I'm excited to kind of bounce off that and see.
Yeah, because I think you'll help too, like, if I'm missing big pieces, because it's kind of an emotional thing to talk through, that you can help guide that.
Okay. Bam. Okay, settle in.
All right, kids. Obviously, I'm going to give one more preface, and then I'm just going to dive in.
Okay.
That I know my parents love me.
Mm-hmm.
I also know my parents have struggles that they have not treated.
Sure.
I have spent a lot of time excusing their behavior.
Sure.
On that, like, well, I can see their untreated trauma, right? Like,
right.
I can see that, so I'm going to give you so much grace and just, like, social work my way out of this.
Okay.
And then when I really started to explore my core wounds, I was like, but I was the child, right?
Right.
And things should have been different.
Yeah.
And if they weren't,
yeah,
then there should be, like, a level of an apology, like, or a reparations, or so it was like I came to the realization that I'm super wounded from things done to me.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, fuck. And it was just like,
whoa.
And I stopped doing that social work thing, but it's like, but they did this because, and I gave them these, like, great narratives and I just stopped and I was like, fuck that, man. Like, this
you
really
just
hurts.
get to be wounded. You just get to be wounded.
Okay.
Now, you can do the work to social work yourself and repair yourself on that. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
But I have freed myself up from, creating their narratives.
Yes!
Yeah, and it became way more about me.
But you gotta do that, right?
Yeah.
You've got to do the work to get down to this core wound to do that. So, good for you.
It feels selfish, doesn't it?
Of course.
And it's not.
Does everything we do for ourselves feel selfish?
Because we're females.
That's a whole, like, another episode, but...
We're just so worst.
No, it feels to give yourself permission to feel the way you feel does feel selfish, which is ridiculous.
It is totally ridiculous, but it's going to go back to a core wound.
Yes! Okay, here we go.
So, I am the youngest of 3,
mm-hmm.
and there is a lack of equity in the treatment of the children.
Mm.
So, and I have known this for a while.
Yeah.
That I am the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
But I knew it in, like, a playful way and had spent a lot of time denying it, perhaps believing that this really was my fault. But then I became an adult and I have this tremendously productive life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to realize...
It's not a fault.
It isn't a fault.
Yeah.
And I am not the black sheep.
Right.
Like, I also hate that term for many reasons.
Yeah.
But, I use that term because I had a relative who was just like my BFF, and he could see the lack of equity. And he's an adult, so he would call me black sheep too because he was also kind of a you
had that in common.
Yeah, he was black sheep 1, I was black sheep 2. It was really cute. We text each other all the time. It was just great. It was a wonderful relationship. So sorry. I am definitely avoiding talking about core wounds.
You got this.
I can feel myself doing it.
You got this.
So, the lack of equity doesn't come without evidence. So, do you know how if you have, this is like the best way I can describe it. when you're having a really illogical thought, sometimes a therapist will be like, well, what evidence do you have? And then you do kind of that like worksheet.
Yes. Right.
And usually you end up being like, I don't have any evidence.
To try to break that cycle.
Yeah. I'm just inferring about nothing.
Yeah.
I have plenty of evidence, which is like just like your belief comes with evidence, and it does. I've seen it. Mm-hmm. Mine has amples, and I think now that we're talking about core wounds, I'm going to start talking about some of those differences.
Oh, okay.
But the big thing is I could never make my parents happy, and there was always something wrong with me, which is so interesting because I was like a massive overachiever.
Yes.
I did everything to keep them happy.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. Like,
because the messages you were getting were
like verbally.
Yeah.
Verbally, mentally, physically. Like, we came from a home where physical discipline was way too much. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't agree with physical discipline on any level.
Right.
But it was like, I was terrified.
Yeah.
In fact, I even had a teacher when I was in the 4th grade, because I got like a B on a spelling test, which by the way, I can't spell, still can't spell. No. And I was terrified to bring that home. Terrified.
Oh, no.
And she literally pulled me aside. She was actually my favorite teacher. And she was like, are you okay?
Yeah, what's going on here, Annie?
Yeah, I think technically it was a small Christian school, and my dad worked in the school.
Yeah. But just like your level of fear. I was going home with that.
I was terrified.
She could tell. Okay.
And she was like, does your dad hit you? And of course, I was smart enough to know I was supposed to deny all of that.
Of course.
And so I was like, oh, no. And I think, she was a mandatory reporter.
Yeah.
And it was obvious I was physically scared.
Yeah.
And she was a smart woman. So I don't know. I think I would have called that in as a teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking, they would have never, removed me or anything, but, man, if someone would have demanded family counseling, that would have been great.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then, all the kids could be like, yeah, we're actually really scared.
I demanded family counseling and got in trouble for it.
That's, my favorite story of tiny you social worker. You're like, no, we need family counseling. And for some reason, your whole family went. I'd have gotten the shit kicked out of me if I'd said that.
Yeah, I think it was parent-teacher conference and we surprised them with it, but...
God damn it, you're so awesome.
Anyway, back to Annie.
I do love that
story.
Yeah,
so you have the evidence.
Definitely I have the evidence.
Right.
I was terrified of my parents, and nothing I ever did was good enough, which is wild because I was a massive overachiever.
Because nothing was ever good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, of course... And I don't fully know how to describe. I've been really working on the narrative, but I'm not sure what I would call those core wounds. But I think it would be along the lines of something, and maybe you can kind of help me refine the verbiage. But would be just terrified that. Oh, I know. Let me try it something this way.
Okay.
I knew growing up that if I didn't do what my parents wanted, they would sever relationship with me. And I didn't think that was that big of a deal until I realized how much of our body needs that relationship to survive. And so that...
So insecurity, emotional insecurity.
Yes.
There was just no secure connection there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So one core wound, emotional insecurity. The other core wound is there is something wrong with me.
Right.
And not wrong, there's something wrong and I'm bad. So I think those two pieces have really dictated how I've treated previous relationships. I've stayed in jobs too long. I've worked, I won't give feedback to superiors.
Yeah.
I am terrified that I will lose relationship with those that I love. I don't love a lot of people because I'm so fucking scared of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't...
Of trying, being wrong, quote unquote, wrong or bad, and then losing that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Tearing up a little bit, you guys. But just hard on you,
It's, again, and it really does, for me, comes back to that insecurity. There's just no level of emotional security for you.
Yeah.
So either I'm just not going to do or be in these relationships.
Yeah.
Or if I am, I have to do absolutely everything. Because if I do anything wrong, if I mess anything up, if I misstep at all, it's going to leave. And that's impossible. It's impossible.
And so unfair. And I will say, like, I feel like I've talked a lot about my dad being the contributor, but my mom is also. She's really emotionally unstable. I am being so vulnerable right now. It is wildly uncomfortable.
I just have to go back to how proud I am of you. Like, how huge. I don't, because I'm sure our listeners don't get it. Because for them, we've always just kind of been this way on this podcast, right? But I mean, we are such different people.
Yeah.
Than when we first met. And obviously from when we were little kids.
No.
So, like, I just have to tell you, like, this is so huge for Annie. I'm so proud of you for doing this.
I mean, you were my friend forever, and it took me a long time to let you in. Like, it takes me so long.
Yeah.
And I realize that now, right? And so it's good. I can, like, work on it. Because I am seeing that is a core wound, because if I didn't perform, relationship was severed, or the other, it's not just relationship. It was like, I got this shit kicked out of me. You know what I mean? Like, there was a physical threat and an emotional threat if I didn't perform. Which is so difficult, because I have interests and tastes that don't fit into the conservative Christian mold, which is how
you grew up. Yep.
And that is, like, so not fair. And I mean, it is. Yeah. So it's I have learned to survive with passive resistance because of how I was raised.
Yes.
That isn't always the healthiest way.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I've
but
had
you
to
also have to survive, so.
Right, and I've had to do some splicing, because in a lot of ways, passive resistance can kind of be a strength.
Yeah.
Because I can let a lot of shit just roll off my back, and I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
Also, it's not super healthy for interpersonal relationships.
No, right, there you go. That's the piece that...
Which is why...
changes it.
I was like... First, I was like, I don't want to do a Car Wounds episode. And I really didn't.
Of course not.
But I'm so glad I did, because I can see how these things that happen to me affect my ability to have interpersonal relationships. And I am so grateful for the friendships that I have, because I was so scared, right, of that relationship leaving. I have a very small social circle, but I also am, like, a fiercely loyal human.
Yeah.
And so for those relationships, I just cherish them so much, because I think of, like, you and I, all the growing we've done.
Oh,
how sweet, precious, ridiculous 20s we were.
Oh, sad.
But also, like, kind of sweet, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, like, and I think of, like, Kristen. I lived with Kristen so many times. She's such a wonderful human, right? Like, and has loved me through all my phases. My, like, rock phase, just all the phases.
There's always a phase with Annie, and we love it.
God bless me.
It's a great ride.
I get really into stuff.
We love it.
You know? I'm blonde now. Who knew?
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah, I killed my hair. It's not gonna work, but I'm having a great time. But, like, you know, so it has... Okay, exploring my core wounds this is what I will say, it's worth it.
Yes.
I really need you guys to do that in a way that's safe, right? So get a therapist. Guys, don't do this without a therapist. Make sure you have that social circle of people to bounce it off of, because it's going to be super uncomfortable. You might realize patterns about yourself that you're not going to be super proud of. And just know that that's totally okay.
And to piggyback on that, I would add that it may be those patterns that you're noticing first. If you really are not kind of in this kind of therapeutic anything, you might be like, why do I keep doing X, right? Why do all my relationships keep ending in X, right?
Love that.
Like, you'll notice this, like, I don't get it. Why, like, and it's after that that you're like, well, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
And then you bring it back down with work and support. You bring it back down to that core wound. Because I don't think I've ever just, like, sat down and said, okay, what's my core wound, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why are these things or these areas in my life not working?
Yeah.
And then you get to core wound eventually.
Which is so interesting, because I think I almost inversed it because of you bringing up core wounds, right?
Sure.
I mean, I definitely knew there was a lack of equity, had processed that with a therapist prior, but had not labeled them, and I had not seen the value in doing so.
Right.
And so that's what I love about things like this, is it really brings to light why different therapeutic approaches are super helpful, because I would have never done this ever. Like, I would have been like, no, you know, I've worked it through in therapy. There's no use dwelling on the negative, which, by the way, you guys, there's a ton of truth in that, right? Yes. You really want to dwell on those positives. And
well, because we're not dwelling. And the point of core wounds is not to dwell. It's to identify and then do the work to reparent yourself and heal from those.
Oh my gosh, that's okay. My friend made the funniest comment. She said she was watching a TV show. I can't remember what TV show it was, but she's like, everyone on the show has had just enough therapy, but not enough therapy. And I laughed so hard. So this is great. So what a core wound is not, is getting in a fight with your significant other, having an overreaction, and then just saying, well, that's my core wound.
No.
A core wound is something you work through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ooh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Core wounds are not like your scapegoat and just be like,
no, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
And again, they're not for dwelling on.
No.
And they are not to change a focus from the positive to the negative. Right. It is literally about finding it, doing the work, and then understanding how that affects your human behavior.
Yes.
And then celebrating when you heal those pieces.
Yes.
And get out of that.
And then you get out of that in these new things, and life just changes. It's like you're taking off a certain pair of glasses and sticking on another pair.
Yes.
It's like the world just looks different. And the power you get around that reparenting is like something else.
It's like self-efficacy. Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. At its most beautiful. Like you are... Like, that is true human empowerment, which is, you know, like a huge part of social work. Not to, again, I can feel myself dodging core wounds a little bit, but this is about me, not about the social work overview. So, for myself, I felt like I was a whole new person, because I was seeing the way this, like, fear had dictated my relationships with other people.
Yes. And
just removing that, and then of course experiencing secure attachment with your partner was a huge help, because there were things he would point out and he'd be like about like my family dynamic, and he'd be like, yeah, that's bad,
that's not good.
It's just like, yeah, no.
My therapist always presented it as like a bank account. And so, like, you've got to put those kind of secure, positive things in there to start balancing out everything that's been withdrawn over the years. But I do want to reiterate that, like, the core wounds is about doing the work, but you also have to do that reparenting piece.
Yeah.
The point is not to do the core wounds and then expect everyone to apologize for that.
Yeah.
Do you deserve an apology? Should you get one? Yes, all of that is true. But you probably won't.
Yeah.
So you can't just, like, open these wounds and say, you did all this stuff to really F me up, right?
Yeah.
But then that's when that reparenting piece comes in, is like, okay, I don't need or want or have to have reparations with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that myself. You can invite that if you're strong enough and ready, right? You can do that too. But you've got to do that reparenting piece around core wounds to really heal from them. Because trying to get that from the outside party is just never going to work.
I think, too, there was a part of me that was arrogant enough because of, like, thinking I need to be strong. Like I had alienated a lot of relationships, right? Like, I need to be strong, and I'm such an independent woman, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, that was really encouraged by our family dynamic. I think one of the things our family did poorly from our... this came definitely from my parents, was we're the best, everyone else sucks.
Oh.
So I thought
that explains a lot.
Does, doesn't it? Yes. And
I didn't know your family thought that, but it explains a lot.
They totally do. That mentality, I think, is a lot of reason they don't accept therapeutic assistance.
Oh, sure.
But it's why I thought reparenting, not by any means was any level of a joke. But maybe kind of. I think in like a weird arrogance, like I don't need to be reparented. But then I was like, you know what?
Ooh.
Or like that can't work, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but then I was like, fuck it. And I tried it. And I imagined going to like little scared Annie.
Yeah.
And like telling her how like safe she was.
And how awesome and wonderful.
Yes. And that
she was just as she is,
man.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that fucking changes you.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And it was such a like interesting experience. But the bottom line is, you guys, nobody is better than therapy, and no one is better than relationship with another person, because we know our beings need it so bad.
Have to have it.
Yeah. So
have to have it.
Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. It's kind of intense, huh?
I just, in the weirdest way, I feel like I'm watching like an emotional firework display. Like there's just all these wonderful little like, look at that and look at that and look at that and ooh and on. I know you're crying, so I don't want to like make it this beautiful firework display, but it is like emotionally. It just because once you've done this, you do it. Like it starts leading to other things, right? Yeah. You only continue to grow from this sort of work.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited.
So proud of you. I hope you're proud of you.
Or
we'll get there. If you're not yet, like, I hope you recognize how much work you've done in the places has already taken you, which we'll get into later, and will continue to take you.
I am super excited for my mental health future.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've done so much work catching up to being like a healthy person that can be in a relationship with other people.
Right.
And doesn't close out. And I'm not scared of new relationships.
Yes.
Like, I was scared of even just being friends with neighbors. That's so odd.
Yeah.
But now I'm like friends with my neighbors. Like, so there are really cool things happening.
Yes.
But it is like, you guys, I can't encourage you enough. And again, it has to be with support, both therapeutically, socially. You know, don't step into this thinking you can do it alone, because that is not how this works.
Yeah.
No. But it is such a wonderful feeling to like find your core wounds, identify them, see ways it's affecting. I mean, it has changed how I even like argue with my partner.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, it's so awesome. You know, because I'm realizing like intent matters, and I didn't realize my intent was poor, because my intent was like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna have to leave, because I'm gonna leave you before you leave me.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's my insecurity.
Yeah, just popping out all over the place. Yeah, so it's so, it's a really intense exercise.
Yeah. Because it's at your core. It's going to affect everything. It's going to start affecting, just like your wound was affecting everything.
Yeah.
Now this kind of healing of that into a core strength, whatever you want to call it, now that it's all healed up, or healing.
Yeah.
Right? Your core scar. I don't know. We'll find it cool. I do too. I like scars though.
Me too.
Is that will also then affect everything you're doing again, but hopefully in a positive way.
It's kind of like when people have scars. Like, my favorite thing is like when people have scars and they like turn it into like a creative tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, or like, you know, when like I think it is the Japanese art of mending plates when they're broken with gold.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like that same principle, right? Like,
agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm digressing, but it was that is my core wounds, and it is how I am learning to turn those into healthier relationships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Really? You think so?
Bravo.
Really?
Do I think so?
It's like really making me feel good.
You're amazing.
It's the most vulnerable I've ever been.
You've definitely cried more than anyone on this podcast, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm a crier. I'm a process crier. Yeah, I actually love that about myself, like, and I just value that, like.
Yes.
I got in trouble for that all the time. Oh my gosh, there's a stand-up comedian, and I love her. She does a hilarious bit about, she's like, my parents really messed me up. She's like, you know, I got told, quit your crying, and like the crowd, she's or I'll give you something to cry about, you know, and she's like, that's called generational trauma. And it was so cute, like, but I definitely grew up with that. I don't know. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
And so, which is hard on a feeler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I cry at fucking everything.
Yeah.
I mean, good things, I cry. Bad things, I cry. Hard things, I cry. I never cry with physical pain, though. Isn't that interesting? Okay. I think that wraps it.
Okay.
Now that people have listened to this.
Wow.
Next episode, we're going to do social mapping.
Okay.
But you guys, the episode after that, I'm going to tell you about a badass therapeutic breakthrough that I had this summer kind of related to this.
Okay. I can't wait. I'm so stinking excited. Annie's just crushing it, guys.
You guys, I'm so proud of myself.
Crushing it.
I'm proud of myself.
Yes! Thank you!
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm proud of you. The listeners are proud of you.
I've cried a little bit.
We love you.
I'm excited to the next episode because I probably won't cry.
But yeah.
But I make no promises.
Okay.
Because I'm in your social circles.
You're not gonna cry on my social circle, I promise. Promise.
Oh my god. Okay. If you have comments, if something resonated with you or anything like that, let us know. Questions. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Questions are a huge one.
About core wounds, about this episode, about anything else. Please reach out. We cannot be your therapist, but I
was just gonna say I think my prime takeaways are do this, guys. Do it. Get a therapist first. Maybe analyze some patterns of behaviors, just like you said, that you're dissatisfied with. Yeah. That's probably going to be a huge part of it. And then, which is perfect leading into social mapping, because maybe make sure you have a solid social map too, because you're going to dig. I mean, it's not light.
No, it's not light work.
You will probably dysregulate yourself thinking about it. You may have some surprises along the way.
Oh, you will.
You will, you guys.
You will.
You will, because I got to tell you, it was surprising to me to realize how much of this was not my fault.
None of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is my responsibility.
That's exactly right. So, because you're an adult now.
I'm a fucking adult, and I want to be the best for my friends and family and partner. Yep. So, again, it is not your fault, but it is your job. Not your fault, your responsibility. Yep. Not your fault.
Love it.
Totes your job.
Love it. Yep. Yes.
Maybe that's what we'll title the episode. It's not your fault, but it is your job.
Okay. I like responsibility more than job.
That's true. Yeah.
Job feels like I should get paid or something.
Yeah, I just want to quit.
Yeah.
I'm putting
I don't want to do it. If it's a job, no. I already have one.
And I resign. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you very soon. And I just can't thank you enough for sharing this time with me. It was remarkably vulnerable.
Bravo. For me. Bravo, Annie. Crushed it. Oh, I wish we had, again, back to the sound machine.
We are children.
Emotional firework display. Here we go. Oh. We love you guys. Thanks for listening
so much, and I hope this brings you just hope, and that you're having a great day, and we will see you very soon. Bye.